Greetings everyone, welcome back to another episode of Human Resources in History. This podcast aims to offer insights from 7,000 years of human history to help modern human resource practices. I am your host Makoto, a data scientist and journalist.
Hello everyone, I'm Jin, your co-host. I'm an HR professional and I love history.
Okay Jin, so this is our sixth episode, right?
Six?
Yeah.
Now. Okay, that's a lot already.
Yeah, so which topic are we exploring today?
Yes, so today we will talk about two countries that are very relevant to us. Can you guess?
Well, yeah, I think one is Japan, right? Because that's where we were born and also raised.
Yes.
Another one is, I guess, France.
Yes.
Yeah, because we both went to the same university there, and that's where we actually met each other.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Well, I think it was a kind of easy question, easy answer. Yeah. So we're gonna talk about Japan and France.
Nice.
Yeah, because we're gonna talk about these two countries because they have something in common. Can you guess?
I don't know. Do they have anything in common?
I'm looking forward to your funny answers as usual.
Okay. Yeah. They both have Disneyland.
Oh yeah.
Japan has Tokyo Disneyland, France has Disneyland Paris, and neither of them are in Tokyo nor Paris. So that's something in common.
Yeah, exactly.
We have very similar way of naming the Disneyland in a way that it doesn't reflect the actual location.
Well, yeah, but the one in Paris, I don't think they call themselves Paris Disneyland. They call themselves Euro Disney or something like that.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I think so. Let's Google it.
Let's Google. The official website says Disneyland Paris.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, right. Okay. You're right.
So that's what we have in common.
Yes, so we're gonna talk about Disney today.
Exactly, the history of Disneyland.
No, a little bit older topic. Japan and France, they have of course, there are a lot of similarities and things in common. Both are great in art and cuisines and cultures. But no, we're not gonna talk about that today. So they had a monarch.
Oh yeah.
The Bourbon in France and Tokugawa in Japan, they were in the same period. Early modern period around 16th, 17th century.
Oh, right.
So today we will explore these two dynasties and extract historical insights from them.
Sounds good.
So the central theme is the pursuit of power.
Okay.
And we will examine how these two houses maintain their power and the consequences. And as you know, I hesitate to label historical events as strictly good or bad because, values and ethical standards were different in the past from now.
Yeah.
And I believe it is not my place to judge them by today's ethical benchmark.
Okay.
But from a modern perspective, both France and Japan implemented a policy that arguably became one of the potential reasons for their eventual decline due to their misuse of power.
Both of the houses eventually declined, and we're going to talk about the reason behind.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And this is the misuse of power.
Misuse of power.
Well, we will get into it, but I have a question. Have you ever misused your power, or have you witnessed someone misusing theirs?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I have exercised. I have.
Well, by the way, it's recorded, so don't go too far.
Right. So when I was little, my TV went broken. I was told that this happens because TV thinks he's superior to me, so I need to show my strength to make him obey my order. So I hit it with my palm, and it made a crack on the screen, and it never came back. So
okay, so you like physically used your power
exactly
for wrong reason. Okay, that's
is that what you were asking?
Well, I didn't expect it.
Okay.
That's funny, but
well, jokes aside, but no, I don't think I have seen someone using their power wrongly, or I don't actually know what what you mean exactly by
well, I think
power.
you will probably find some a few cases after I explain to you, because it's quite common in a modern workplace. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's delve into the historical context and examine how these two countries misuse their power.
Okay.
Okay. So we're gonna start from France, and our focus shifts to Versailles. I think we both of us lived close to Versailles. Our school is close to Versailles.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, we're gonna talk about Versailles, and which is the residence of the House of Bourbon. So let me quickly walk you through the history of Versailles. So in 1623, Louis XIII of the House of Bourbon built a hunting lodge in Versailles, so which was not their main residence in the beginning. Yep. So, and then his son, Louis XIV, as you know, the Sun King, used this lodge as his residence. And Louis XIV commissioned the expansion of the place into a huge royal palace and officially relocated himself and the government to Versailles in 1682, which is like almost more than 50 years later, after the Louis XIII built this hunting lodge.
It used to be a hunting lodge.
The very beginning was very, very small chateau.
Seriously?
Of course, it's a big house for our standard, for us, but it was quite small compared to the current building of Versailles.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You know, this transformation from a hunting lodge to a big, huge royal palace involved massive expenditure with unprecedented extravagance like Europe have never seen before.
Yeah.
And furthermore, he mandated that nobles and minor royals reside at the Versailles as a strategy to neutralize their power.
Okay.
Does it make sense?
What does it mean? So were they asked to live in Versailles?
Forced, I would say.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because they had to live there.
Okay.
And then the strategy behind is to neutralize their power, or probably reduce their power.
Wait, but
We get into it.
okay, but it's a good thing, no? Because small apartments in Versailles must be coming with a toilet bigger than my entire apartment. I'll be happy to move in.
But do you know that how dirty it was in Versailles back in 17th, 18th century?
Oh no, I don't know.
They didn't have a proper toilet.
Were they shitting outside?
Basically, medieval Europe is very bad in terms of hygiene.
Yeah, I knew it, but I didn't know that these noble people also lived in the same condition.
Yeah.
That's why the garden is so beautiful in Versailles.
Well, that's another, like this. But, well, anyway, so, and then the life there was probably not as fascinating as you wish to be.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm going to explain why this is a strategy to neutralize the power later. But these nobles were confined to small apartments. But they were also given a lot of time to kill, because they didn't have anything. I mean, probably they had something, but they had a lot of spare time.
Okay.
By the way, have you visited the Palace of Versailles?
I think I went there twice.
Okay, how was it?
Oh, it was so big and so gorgeous. I was just so impressed. Yeah, but at the same time, I don't know what I would do if I lived there, because I don't want to spend the entire day just looking at the paintings, and you know what I mean. And also, what happens if I get lost in the palace? It's so big that nobody would find me.
Yeah. It's huge, right? As you said, they didn't have a lot of things to do, so this mix of boredom and extravagance led them to indulge in gossip.
Oh.
Yeah, gossiping or needless spending and various forms of entertainment, right?
Yeah, because there's nothing else to do.
Yeah. And they were kind of forced to wear fancy costumes and purchase vast amounts of French products so that they can contribute to the French, the economy.
Right.
And the Versailles social calendar was full of events such as concerts, banquets, balls, parades, and plays.
Ah, okay, I see.
And also gambling became a widespread hobby. And some nobles, had a huge financial gains or losses.
Okay, so there are a lot of entertainments actually.
Yeah.
Now it starts to sound a little bit more fun to live there.
I don't know, to be honest. The king on the top, and you have to basically entertain the royal family if you are like coming from minor nobles.
Right.
And then every day it's your job to buy a lot of things, and also there are a lot of politics.
Oh, that's so stressful.
Yeah, I think so.
So basically these parties and events were not only for not just for them, but mainly for entertaining the royal family.
In a way, yeah. But this is exactly the strategy of the kings.
What do you mean by that?
Because this concentration of wealth in Versailles has severely depleted regional resources, such as money and human, right?
Okay.
So that undermined the nation's economic and military power. It makes sense, right? Because you spend a lot of money and time and then people on something that are not essential. And while there are a lot of urgent needs to develop infrastructures or make armies stronger to fight against the forces from abroad.
Yeah, well, they're essentially spending the money in an unnecessary way.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I was wondering where the money came from. Like, was it basically taxes from the people?
Yeah, basically tax. This extravagance made France incapable of competing with emerging powers across Europe and the New World, which is basically the US. And as you said, because of the tax, this widened the wealth gap between the rich and poor, and eventually sparking this, the renowned French Revolution.
Okay. So, well, the house had the power and the money at the beginning, and they used the money to keep the power running, but then eventually to an extent that it's threatening the national security.
Yeah. And I would say it's not only about money though. Basically power. It could be like status or it could be land. Anyway, the royal family used their power, right, to show off their power and keep the power, as you said. And that eventually led to the end of their prosperity.
That's so interesting.
Right. And so let's now turn our attention to Japan and the Tokugawa family during the Edo period.
Okay.
So yeah, we're not gonna explain about the Tokugawa's history today, but can you think of any political system that might have contributed to the government's decline?
But maybe it's better to just briefly explain who Tokugawa family was and also when the Edo period was.
Sure. Okay, let me quickly walk you through. So the Tokugawa family is a family of shogun, and which lasted 260 years. And yeah, just after the lot of mess, during the 16th century, it's called the Sengoku period, which is like warriors period. And then Tokugawa clan took the power, and which is actually good to the nation because this 260 years, more or less, it was quite peaceful. There was no foreign invasion. There were some like famines, but basically we know this period as a peaceful period.
Okay.
And they had 15 shoguns and the Tokugawa family. Edo period equals Tokugawa reign.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go back to my question.
Right. What was your question?
So can you think of any political system that might have contributed to the government decline? So we know what happened in the end. The power declined.
Yeah.
And a Meiji restoration happened, and Japan modernized themselves, right?
Yep.
But what kind of political system led to this consequence?
I don't know. Wait, but something that they spent too much money on, right?
Yes.
But the entire country was in lockdown and didn't have foreign trades in more than 2 centuries. So I don't know what they had to spend money on. I don't know. I give up.
Well, I mean, you know it because we all learned this in school. I think even in elementary school. The answer is, well, the one potential answer, because there are a lot of other reasons, the one potential answer is the Sankin Kotai system.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So in English, it's a alternate attendance policy. But let's use Sankin Kotai in this podcast. Okay, so let me explain a little bit more about Sankin Kotai system. So the system required feudal laws, like regional laws, known as daimyo. It's like regional nobles in France, right? Mm-hmm. So these people are called daimyo, as you know. So the Sankin Kotai system required them to make annual journeys to Edo, which is a present-day Tokyo. Mm-hmm. And this practice was established before the Edo period and initially served as a means for daimyos to pay homage to the shogun.
Yeah.
And it was more formalized under Iemitsu, the third Tokugawa shogun. Right? The first one is Ieyasu, then the third one is Iemitsu. Mm-hmm. And he mandated that daimyo's wives and heirs remain in Edo as a measure to prevent political rebellions against the government.
Okay.
Such a sneaky but clever move, right? These people, like wives and heirs, they were brought from their homeland to Edo. Mm-hmm. So I imagine that these feudal local lords first came to Edo with their wives and heirs, mm-hmm. and they left them in Edo, and they had to come back. And then next year they come, and then of course if something unfortunate happened to the wives or heirs, for example, if they pass away, then probably they have to bring someone else.
Oh, okay. I understood in a wrong way. I thought
it's like hostage.
Oh, okay. They were taken as a hostage in Tokyo.
Yeah, exactly. Because if, for example, if your wife is in Edo, you don't wanna rebel against them because you put your wife into danger.
Exactly. Wow. That's so clever.
But this is the thing. So these annual trips to Edo were not small trip for the daimyos. Mm-hmm. Because they required considerable resources. And these groups often resembled grand parades involving thousands of participants.
Thousands?
Yeah, for example, it is recorded that the daimyo of Kaga domain, Kaga was one of the prosperous domain back in the Edo period, they once traveled with a group of as many as 4,000 people.
Oh, wow.
That's a lot. Right? It's like one big company.
Yeah, the entire 4,000 people traveling at the same time from one place to another.
Another example is that the journey from the Satsuma domain to Edo could last up to 2 months because Satsuma is really far from Tokyo, right?
They didn't have choice to use the bullet train?
Well, they didn't have money, or probably the bullet train that didn't exist.
Okay, I didn't think about it.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. But yeah, it's they didn't have other ways. I'm sure they used horses, but main ways they needed to walk to Edo. Mm-hmm. And sometimes the routes are very dangerous, right? Yeah. And they had to also the feed their people who accompanied with this group. But it was not just a mere formality. The Sankin Kotai system offered these domains a stage to show off their power and wealth, and it encouraged, or I would say forced, daimyos to allocate a significant portion of their resources to these visits. Mm-hmm. It's like a Versailles culture. They needed to show off their power, and when they arrived in Edo, they need to prove that they are strong to the shogun.
Well, I guess it worked in a positive way at least for the economies in the local cities and towns and on the way to Edo, no? Because if 4,000 people need to travel, then they need food, accommodation, and all that.
For sure. This actually enriched the domestic network, trade network. Yeah, it is. Yeah,
okay. But other than that, I guess for the daimyos, it must have been so frustrating because they needed to spend money on the trip. And well, I imagine the Edo government didn't reimburse them on the expenses, right?
No.
Like scanning receipts and attach on the email, like saying, "Dear Shogun, this is the invoice for the hotel that 4,000 people stayed." And the Shogun would be like, "Nah, you stayed in Marriott Hotel, which is out of our policy." And
even nowadays, I don't think when they do a business trip from the local government to the central government, I don't think the central government can pay that trip.
Damn it.
Yeah, this is like I think accounting rule or something. So, can you guess how much the percentage of domain's revenue was expended on the journey? Can you guess?
20%, 30%?
No, way more.
Really?
Yeah, it is estimated that between 50 to 75%
No way.
was expended on the journey.
That's like exploitation.
Yeah.
Because of this system and rules, local domains were always poor.
Yeah, exactly. So during this period, Japan was doing sakoku. They isolated themselves.
Right.
So the word is basically Japan, this small island, and they didn't have any like foreign threat. They had a small trade with the Netherlands, but basically Japan isolated themselves. So the economy completed domestically, and then the shogun was on the top, and then the shogun asked or kind of forced the local lords to pay homage to them and spend a lot of money for them, right? So literally the shogun was on top of the pyramid, and that's it.
Wow. The entire economy of Japan was completely closed, and such huge amount of local economy was kind of like sucked up to the central government. And wow, that's unimaginable.
Yeah, so the Sankin Kotai system is a crucial topic in discussions about the Edo period. Yeah, it's one of the major events. But can you guess the outcomes?
Well, the Tokugawa government, they collapse, right?
Why?
Well, I think as far as I remember, it's because of the both internal fault and the external fault. Internally, people were so frustrated, so I think there were rebels against the government, and at the same time the United States came to threaten Japan to open up the country, and because of these two forces, I think the Edo period was over.
Right, exactly. So as you said, the frustrated local lords, they rebelled against the government, right? Yeah, and also because the government diverted their crucial resources and attention away from essential regional economic development and national defense. This led to the arrival of the Commodore Perrys and black ships. We often use this expression in Japan, like black ships, when we say something like a foreign threat. So it was 1853. These black ships came from the United States to Japan, and as you said, they asked Japan to open up the economy.
Right.
And this event ended up with an unfair treaty that significantly disadvantaged Japan and triggered the fall of the Tokugawa shogunate.
Okay.
Yeah, so for this reason, the Sanki Kodai system can be considered an indirect cause of this downfall.
Yeah, because of this system, the wealth of the country was sucked, and the money that should have been spent for national security was not spent. And that's all these led to this consequence.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same structure, right?
Yeah, well, it's quite similar to France.
Yeah.
The monarchs exercised power by compelling regional laws to expend significant resources and time as well in a show of allegiance, instead of empowering the laws to spend the resources on the right place.
Yeah, they just spend something on not essential just to show off their power. Right. So these approaches of both Versailles and Edo made me think about this expression, style over substance in management. Yeah, I think you've heard this word. This refers to prioritizing the presentation of work rather than its actual content.
Right.
Yeah. And in our historical comparison, the true substance would involve the development of infrastructure or the enhancement of defense capabilities. And however, the lords were compelled to focus on presentation part and demonstrating their loyalty to the monarch through like luxurious, lavish displays.
Yeah.
Have you ever faced a style over substance approach in your management experience or in your career?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think now you say it, it's kind of common.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, like some people, I mean, including myself, right? Some people spend so much time on making, for example, presentation slides. And also, although I like business trips, not all business trips are necessary. And that, of course, there are certain moments that meeting each other in person would bring additional value, but most of the time actually virtual conversation is fine. I never experienced by myself, but I know a lot of companies have some kind of culture where when somebody high up in the hierarchy comes to offices in other countries like branches, people there need to prepare so much on presenting what they do, showing around the city, booking expensive restaurants and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Their resources are focused on their visit.
So I would say it's kind of common, but I don't know. So, we are doing this podcast and trying to extract an insights, but I want to ask what we can do or what the HR people or leaders can do to avoid this kind of corporate culture.
Yeah, here are a couple of strategies that I would like to suggest. So the first strategy is to establish an organizational charter. Organizational charter is the kind of like values and the ways of working. So I'm going to explain a little bit more, but the organizational charter can effectively shape your corporate culture. And then this often falls under the HR responsibility. So to explain a little bit more about the organizational charter, let's use Google's 10 things we know to be true.
Okay.
So this is a typical organizational charter. And these principles include a focus on the user and all else will follow. Or you don't need to be at your desk to need an answer. And you can be serious without a suit. So yeah, there are 10 principles in it. So this is exactly an organizational charter.
That's interesting. Wait, so organizational charter it's like a written document that explains the recommended way of working.
Yeah.
To avoid style over substance management.
Well, it can address this issue, but not only that. It's basically organizational charter is an essential philosophy in terms of way of working, collaboration, or value creation process. For example, Johnson & Johnson, they use the word credo.
Okay.
Or, sometimes companies simply use the word corporate values. So if you put any principle around style over substance, you can effectively tackle the issue, right?
Yeah.
So for example, Google's principle, you can be serious without a suit. It's probably that it challenges the style over substance mindset because, sometimes you have to wear a suit and jackets in the middle of summer because that's how you do, right? But of course, if you can wear more comfortably and you can focus more, you can focus on your work, right? Yeah. So that's one strategy or solution I would suggest, which is to create an organizational charter. And another strategy, this one is inspired by Jeff Bezos' philosophy at Amazon, right? This is to encourage employees to write memos instead of creating PowerPoint presentations.
Yeah.
So because you already mentioned PowerPoint presentation requires a lot of effort to align the lines and use the good colors and a lot of works. So this memo over PowerPoint presentation philosophy style at Amazon emphasized the importance of meaningful content over flashy presentations.
Yeah.
And actually Bezos believed that this approach promoted clearer thinking and deeper discussions, which is in line with Amazon's commitment to innovation and customer satisfaction. And on a personal note, I also do something like that. So whenever I create a presentation, I hate doing this kind of adding images or do some fancy shapes. That's very time consuming. I can do that, but what I normally do is I put this sentence in the beginning in the first page, which is in this presentation, we're not gonna use images for sustainability reasons. So this way, I don't have to use any images, any like flashy color. And then actually I'm not lying, because using a lot of images and then store the file in the shared folder requires a lot of energy resources.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it requires a lot of storages and...
Yeah, so that is why I try not to use any images, eventually reducing my workload.
Okay, makes sense.
How about you? Do you have any practices in place to tackle style over substance management style, or do you have any effective strategies?
Well, I actually follow Jeff Bezos' advice on making narrative memos than slides. Well, rather than narrative memos, I make documents, which is a lot more structured than memos. You know, nowadays we have Google Doc, Notion, and all these nice tools that support Markdown, and you can easily write down your thoughts in a structured way. So I like that. I like writing things than making slides. I hate it. And personally, I don't like reading slides because a lot of times I don't get the whole message. I need to infer the message behind, but documents have more details. So in that sense, I follow what Jeff Bezos have in Amazon. Also, yeah, like when you brought up things about, you know, usage of images for sustainability reason, I have something kind of similar in my mind. You know, a lot of companies make t-shirts and sweaters with the logos on it. Well, in one sense, that's kind of important to, you know, make the employees feel they're in the same team and feel the bonds.
Yeah, sense of belonging.
Yeah. But also it has a marketing aspect, you know, taking pictures of employees wearing the swag and posting on LinkedIn. It's also used in the marketing, right? Not always it's necessary. And I think one pair of t-shirts is okay, but some company just keeps making tons of swags. And I don't personally think this is good for environment. Yeah, just why not wearing the same t-shirts over 10 years? And that's not a good idea either. But
yeah, but for sure, it's we tend to produce more than necessary sometimes. So it's really like a minimalistic view, which is related to lean agile thinking. So it's it's like really put our resources into what matters the most, even though it's not perfect, but it's really important to avoid waste. So this is the fundamental concept of lean thinking. And and another recommendation is to embrace data-driven evaluations to tackle this style over substance culture, right? So in environments lacking a data-driven culture, companies often rely on subjective impressions for evaluations. Like flashy presentations can significantly influence outcomes. People spend a lot of time on fancy, flashy presentations to the top management, and the top management think that they are doing great job because their presentation is great, right? But of course, if they have data tells a lot. So if you don't have enough data, or if you don't have a culture to embrace data, then we tend to rely on our impressions. Yeah,
I mean, I hope management people in my company wouldn't be like that, evaluating people based on how beautiful the presentation slides are. But
yeah, there are many companies like that, in fact. But you know, also this was highlighted in the Harvard Business Review. It's difficult to perfect meritocracy. You know, it's because we cannot judge everything based on data, and I don't even think it's healthy.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, but still that said, it's very important to be data-driven, to be fair and more objective. So we still need some like subjective part, but it doesn't mean that we should not bring data to the table, right?
Yeah.
And then in fact, data-driven culture reduces the subjective evaluations. Yeah, which can often lead to this style over substance management style.
Yeah, okay, so relying on data-driven evaluation method, to some extent, we can avoid having style over substance management style.
You know, there are a lot of I believe there are a lot of other solutions here, but the key lies in leveraging the authority of leaders or HR to foster a culture and processes and in which teams and employees are encouraged to put their efforts and resources toward what truly matters, rather than just showing their power. Right? So this is the important message from here.
Yeah, so it's an important message for the leaders and the managers.
And HRs. Yeah, sometimes HRs can hoard strong power because they have it depends on the company, but some companies, HR has strong decision-making power over who moves to where and how much they pay.
Yeah, okay. So if the company doesn't have an organizational charter, then who's responsible for it? Is it HR department?
It's difficult. It's not only HR, but of course HR plays an important role. But when it comes to culture, it's really like everyone. But the leaders. So maybe HR leads this subject, but really, it's really important to have a strong sponsor from top management.
Oh, okay. Well, in some cases, probably the request comes from the finance department, which has access to the figures, like how much cash burning the company is, and probably they find out some people spending too much money on business trips, or how inefficient their work is, probably because they make too many slides, or and then probably HR can jump in to suggest building up organizational charter to prevent such things from happening.
Yeah, let me just add one thing. So I said it's in the beginning, these practices at Versailles and Edo led to the decline, right? But this is always the case in history. That has these practices also brought some benefits to these two countries, right? So that is why in the beginning it's not good to label historical events just simply good or bad.
Okay, so yeah, for Versailles I think it's quite obvious, right? Because now it attracts so many tourists every year because of the palace. So yeah, definitely it's contributing so much on the French economy. How about Sankin Kotai system? How is that?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, this Sankin Kotai system developed a domestic trade network.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and this domestic network not only boosted economic activity, but also it diffuses distinctive cultural identity of Japan. Japan is now one of the most attractive countries, I'd say. Not just because we are from there, but that's one of the top tourist destinations these days.
Yeah.
And so this is partially thanks to this cultivated network, thanks to the Sankin Kotai system, because Sankin Kotai system brought some diversity and foster inter-regional network.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting that during the time that Japan was completely locked down without having any foreign trades, there were a lot of trades inside the country.
Right. So that is how they developed their unique identity, unique culture. And
absolutely, that's
fostered within this network. So the question I want to give is, what if the House of Bourbon and the Tokugawa shogunate had practiced very frugal style and delegated more power to the local lords? And also, how might that have altered the course of history and the cultural legacies we see today?
There's no if in history, but probably, I don't know, if there had been no extravagant palace in Versailles, there would have been a lot of cheap area around there, so probably somebody would have built a Disneyland over there. Then we can call it Disneyland Versailles.
But Versailles sounds fancy now because the palace was there, but if the palace was not there, Disneyland Versailles doesn't mean anything, right? Or maybe it does. Sorry, I know there are a lot of other beautiful places in Versailles other than the palace.
Okay, yeah.
But it's not only the Versailles is not about the palace only, because these nobles had to purchase a lot of French products, and a lot of money went into this luxurious lifestyle, which eventually led to the French elegance, like fashions and beauty and arts.
Oh,
right. So this is the actually, I would say, more important effect of the Versailles culture.
Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah.
In addition to the palace, the beautiful palace.
Oh, yeah, that could have changed the course of history so much if there were no such palace in Versailles. Then
exactly. I don't know.
Yeah.
Of course, who knows?
Who knows? But well, it's still important to learn from the history, right? And not to make mistakes that can be avoided. All right, so it looks like we're coming towards the end of our time today. So today we learned how misuse of power can play out in management and approaches to avoid the situation. Thank you for listening, everybody. Until next time, this is where we finish today's episode. Stay tuned for more exciting discussions.
Thank you very much for listening. See you next time.